No one tells you this part about aging. That one day, you stop doing things you never imagined you'd give up. Not all at once, and not because you want to, but because something inside you shifts, quietly. You stop kneeling to tie your shoe. Not because your knees hurt, but because it's just easier not to. You leave the heavy groceries for someone else, even though you used to carry them all in one trip. You wait for someone to walk ahead before stepping onto an escalator, just in case. And it happens so gradually, you barely notice. But over time, those little choices, those quiet hesitations start to shape how you move, how you live, and how you feel about yourself. That's why today, we're walking through 12 of the most common, but rarely talked about, changes seniors make without even realizing it. Changes that slowly steal confidence, mobility, and independence. And we're going to talk about what you can do, starting now, to catch them early and take your power back. So if you or someone you love wants to age with dignity and clarity, tap that like button to help more people find this. And subscribe for honest, no fluff advice that helps you stay in control of your body, your mind, and your future. Because aging well doesn't mean doing everything you used to. It means protecting what still matters. Elaine is 72. She lives alone in the same little brick house she and her late husband moved into over 30 years ago. Raised 3 kids there, kept a garden out back, made her famous lemon bars every Sunday for the neighbors. She's the kind of woman who remembers birthdays, keeps her porch swept, and never forgets to send a thank you card. Elaine is sharp, independent, proud. She still drives, still does her own shopping, and insists on carrying her own bags, even when someone offers to help. And for the longest time, she never thought twice about walking to the store, standing through long lines, even hopping in the car for a late-night grocery run if she forgot something. But lately, something's been different. She hasn't said it out loud, maybe not even to herself, but she's noticed these small, quiet changes. Last week, she skipped her walk because it looked like rain. The week before that, she put off getting milk, even though she had time. And now when she reaches for something on the bottom shelf, she pauses, just long enough to ask herself if it's worth it. She still does these things, most of the time, but they don't feel automatic anymore. They feel like decisions. Like hesitations. She tells herself it's nothing. Just being cautious. Just tired. Just smart. But deep down, she feels it. That shift. That little voice asking, what if I fall? Or what if it's too much? And the hardest part? It doesn't come with a warning or a diagnosis. There's no moment where someone says, you're slowing down now. It just shows up in how you move through the day, how you quietly adjust the things you do, or don't do, to feel a little safer. Elaine isn't broken. She's just adapting. But she's also wondering if that means losing the version of herself she's always been. And the truth is, she's not alone. That's why today, we're following Elaine's story through 12 common but rarely spoken shifts that so many seniors experience as they age, changes that often go unnoticed, but slowly chip away at freedom, confidence, and joy. Because noticing them is the first step. And doing something about them? That's how we stay strong. 1. Avoiding stairs without realizing it. It started with the laundry. Elaine used to carry it down to the basement without a second thought, one hand on the rail, humming something under her breath, in and out like clockwork. But now, she finds herself taking the long way around. She'll wait until the basket's overflowing. She'll do the upstairs rooms first. She'll even leave it by the stairs and tell herself she'll get to it later. Sometimes she does. But more and more, she doesn't. She tells herself it's just habit, that she doesn't feel like fussing with the old steps today, but the truth is, it's not just convenience. It's hesitation. There's a part of her that doesn't feel fully steady anymore. A part that quietly wonders, what if I miss a step? So she avoids it. Not out of panic, just caution. Quiet, creeping caution. And this is how it starts. Avoiding stairs without realizing it isn't just about the steps, it's about what those steps represent. See, stairs demand strength from your legs, balance from your core, coordination from your mind, and when you stop using them, all of that begins to fade. The glutes, the thighs, the stabilizers, they grow weaker, faster than most people realize. And with every day you don't challenge them, your confidence shrinks just a little more. It's not just about the laundry or the basement. It's about slowly, unknowingly teaching your body not to trust itself. But here's the good news, once you notice it, you can do something about it. You can start with small movements. Simple stair-step exercises near a wall or rail. Strength-building moves that don't overwhelm but reawaken. Elaine didn't need a gym. She needed a reason to believe her body could handle one flight of stairs again. And she found it, not all at once, but step by step. 2. Turning down invitations after dark. Elaine used to light up at the idea of dinner with friends. A cozy booth at her favorite place. Warm bread, good laughter, stories that drifted past closing time. She'd toss on a scarf, grab her purse, and head out without thinking twice. Rain or shine, weekday or weekend, if someone called, she was in. But lately, when the phone rings and the invite comes after 6, her answer's different. "Oh, that's a little late for me," she says, gently. "Maybe next time." At first, her friends thought she just didn't feel like it. But it wasn't about energy. She wasn't tired. She was nervous. Driving at night had started to feel uncertain. The glare of headlights in her eyes. The way shadows played tricks on the road. Missing a turn or feeling unsure at an intersection. It all added a layer of tension to something that used to be second nature. She hadn't mentioned it. Not even to herself, not clearly. But the truth is, her eyes weren't what they used to be. With age, the pupils react more slowly to light changes. Contrast fades. Depth perception softens. And glare, especially from oncoming traffic, becomes harder to tolerate. It's not fear, exactly. It's a quiet knowing that things feel riskier now. And that's what made Elaine start saying no. But the cost? It's more than missed dinners. It's missed connections. Laughter. Moments that make life feel full and shared. And once you start turning things down, the invitations slow down too. But there are ways to push back, gently and safely. Elaine found a few. She got an anti-glare coating on her glasses. Had her prescription updated for night driving. Chose routes she knew well, with street lights and lower speed limits. Sometimes, she carpooled with a friend. Other times, she offered to host instead. It wasn't about forcing herself to be who she was at 40. It was about staying connected to the parts of life she still loved. Because independence isn't just about what you can do. It's about what you still want to do, and finding a way to keep doing it. 3. Whispering instead of speaking up. Elaine never used to be shy about speaking her mind. At family dinners, she was always the first to share her opinion, whether it was about a new recipe or a news story she'd read. She'd ask questions, offer suggestions, and without fail, she'd speak up when it was her turn to order lunch or pick a movie. But lately, something's changed. Now, at lunch with friends, she lets them choose for her. Anything's fine, she says with a smile, even if she'd rather have something else. She keeps her opinions soft, like they're too fragile to say out loud. Her voice isn't quiet by accident. It's a shift, subtle, but real. Somewhere along the way, Elaine's voice started shrinking. At first, it seemed like nothing. A few moments of hesitation. A few polite nods instead of bold statements. But over time, she began to notice she wasn't speaking up like she used to. It was easier to let others take the lead. Easier to agree. Easier to stay quiet. Until one day, she realized she didn't remember the last time she voiced her true thoughts, her real preferences, out loud. It wasn't that she was afraid of confrontation. She never had been. It was something else. Social confidence often dips with age. You may not even notice it happening. But the less you speak up, the quieter your voice becomes, both in the world and in your own mind. And the danger? The more you shrink, the more the world starts to feel out of reach. But there's good news. Elaine can reclaim her voice. It's not about forcing herself to speak louder. It's about remembering the power of her own words. She can start with little things, ordering what she wants. Asking for what she needs. Sharing an idea when it comes to mind. She doesn't have to be brash or bold, just honest. Taking small steps to speak up will remind her that her voice matters, and that confidence isn't gone. It's just waiting to be used again. Because no one else knows what Elaine wants or needs unless she says it. And her voice? It's just as valuable now as it's ever been. 4. Double-checking doors. Again and again. Elaine has always been someone who trusted her instincts. She could walk out the door without a second thought, knowing she'd locked it. She'd check the stove, maybe, just for peace of mind, but never more than once. She was sharp, organized. The kind of person who always knew where her keys were. And could recall a name from 20 years ago without a second glance. But now, it's different. Every time she leaves the house, she checks the front door, then checks again, 5 minutes later. Just to be sure, she tells herself. Even when she's already on her way to the car, she'll turn back, walk up the steps, and twist the handle, making sure it's locked tight. She laughs it off when her daughter notices. "Oh, you know me," she says, smiling. Always double checking. But inside, there's a slight pang of discomfort. This isn't her. She doesn't like being so unsure. The truth is, it's not paranoia. It's a slow erosion of trust in her own memory. Mild shifts in memory, common with aging, don't always show up with obvious signs. But little things start to fade. Like the certainty that the door is locked. Or the feeling that she knows she turned off the stove. What starts as a small doubt grows into repetitive behavior, something she finds herself doing without realizing why. The worst part is the way it creeps in, hidden behind jokes, behind those words, "I'm just being cautious." It's easy to laugh it off. Easier still to ignore it. But the more Elaine double checks, the more it reinforces the fear that she's not in control of her memory anymore, that maybe she's losing something. But here's the silver lining. These small memory shifts don't have to take over. Elaine can start by practicing grounding techniques to help build confidence in her memory. Maybe she writes down things she wants to remember, a quick checklist or a phone reminder. Or she gives herself a minute of mindfulness after locking the door, really allowing herself to feel that it's done before moving on. It's not about fighting memory loss. It's about building new habits that keep her feeling confident in the present. Every time she checks the door, she can pause, and trust that it's locked, without that need to double check. Small steps like this can give Elaine back a sense of control. Instead of letting the small doubts take over. 5. Skipping the mirror. Elaine used to spend a few minutes in front of the mirror before heading out. She'd smooth her hair, touch up her lipstick, and check the outfit she picked, always confident, always prepared. But lately, something's changed. When the alarm rings in the morning, she's quick to get dressed, grab her things, and head for the door. But the mirror? She passes it by. Just running late, she tells herself, hurrying past the glass. Yet, the truth is deeper than that. Sometimes, it's hard to see the face you don't recognize. The face in the mirror feels like a stranger's. The lines, the silver hair, the softening jawline, they're all reminders of time passing, of a body that's changing in ways she can't control. Elaine didn't want to avoid the mirror, but it was easier to not face what was staring back at her. The reflection wasn't what she remembered, and the shift in her appearance felt more personal than she wanted to admit. Body image isn't just about looks, it's about how we see ourselves in the world, how we feel inside when we look at our own reflection. After 60, these changes can feel like a quiet blow to self-worth. We're used to feeling strong, vibrant, youthful, and when those qualities start to fade, it's easy to feel like we're losing a part of who we are. But avoiding the mirror doesn't make it go away. Elaine doesn't have to love every change she sees, none of us do, but she can start by shifting how she sees them. Instead of seeing age as something to be hidden, she can see it as something to be embraced, celebrated, even. It's a sign of all she's lived through, the wisdom she carries in her eyes, the stories etched in every wrinkle. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be real. Elaine can start by making the mirror a moment of self-compassion. Acknowledge the changes with kindness, and take a deep breath before heading out the door. She doesn't have to feel pressured to look a certain way, only to be herself. And slowly, with each glance, she'll reclaim that feeling of pride in who she is, inside and out. 6. Giving up the grocery bags. Elaine used to take pride in carrying all the grocery bags in one trip. She'd juggle 6 bags, one in each hand, the rest tucked under her arms, and march inside like it was nothing. She felt strong, capable, like nothing could slow her down. But now, it's different. When she walks through the door with groceries, she only grabs one bag. Why carry more? She thinks, even when the bags aren't heavy. But deep down, there's a quiet voice whispering, maybe it's better to take it easy. Just in case. It's not that Elaine can't carry more, she could, easily. But somehow, she doubts she should. What if something happens? What if she twists her back, or strains her knee? What if she's not as steady as she used to be? The truth is, The real cost isn't in the weight of the bags, it's in the loss of confidence. Functional strength doesn't just fade from lack of use, it starts in the mind first. When we stop testing our strength, we start to question it. And over time, we believe we can't, even when our bodies still can. Elaine doesn't need to carry 6 bags again overnight. But she can challenge herself in small, intentional ways. Maybe she picks up a second bag. Maybe she carries something just a bit heavier than usual, not because she has to, but to prove she still can. Each time she does, something powerful happens. She starts to trust herself again. The goal isn't to push too hard or prove anything to anyone else. It's about reclaiming her sense of strength, not just in her arms, but in her mindset. Because real strength isn't measured by how much you carry. It's measured by your willingness to believe in your own resilience. And Elaine? She's still got it, 1 bag at a time. 7. Planning around bathrooms. Elaine used to take pride in carrying all the grocery bags in one trip. She'd juggle 6 bags, 1 in each hand, the rest tucked under her arms, and march inside like it was nothing. She felt strong, capable, like nothing could slow her down. But now, it's different. When she walks through the door with groceries, she only grabs 1 bag. Why carry more? She thinks, even when the bags aren't heavy. But deep down, there's a quiet voice whispering, maybe it's better to take it easy. Just in case. It's not that Elaine can't carry more, she could, easily. But somehow, she doubts she should. What if something happens? What if she twists her back, or strains her knee? What if she's not as steady as she used to be? The truth is, the real cost isn't in the weight of the bags, it's in the loss of confidence. Functional strength doesn't just fade from lack of use, it starts in the mind first. When we stop testing our strength, we start to question it. And over time, we believe we can't, even when our bodies still can. Elaine doesn't need to carry 6 bags again overnight. But she can challenge herself in small, intentional ways. Maybe she picks up a second bag. Maybe she carries something just a bit heavier than usual, not because she has to, but to prove she still can. Each time she does, something powerful happens. She starts to trust herself again. The goal isn't to push too hard or prove anything to anyone else. It's about reclaiming her sense of strength, not just in her arms, but in her mindset. Because real strength isn't measured by how much you carry. It's measured by your willingness to believe in your own resilience. And Elaine? She's still got it, 1 bag at a time. 8. Avoiding conversations with strangers. Elaine used to chat with everyone. The barista who knew her favorite scone. The neighbor who always walked his dog at 4 p.m. Even strangers in the checkout line, she'd strike up a conversation without a second thought. It wasn't about being social. It was just who she was. Warm, curious, open. But lately, she keeps her head down more. She smiles politely, but doesn't speak first. She lets others talk around her. She listens, or at least, pretends to. It's not that she doesn't care. It's not rudeness. It's something harder to name, a quiet anxiety that crept in when she wasn't looking. Words don't come as quickly. Her hearing isn't as sharp, especially when the store is loud. And when someone asks her a question she wasn't expecting, she freezes, just for a second. It feels small, but that second matters. Because now, she's afraid of saying the wrong thing. Or mishearing something and responding strangely. So instead of risking it, she stays quiet. These moments add up. And slowly, isolation sneaks in through the cracks of everyday life. Here's what many don't realize. It's not just the body that ages. It's the pace of conversation. The volume of the world. The sharpness of memory. But that doesn't mean silence has to win. Elaine started doing small things to stay sharp. Reading aloud for a few minutes a day, not just to practice words, but to hear herself again. She looked into a hearing check, just to be sure. And she practiced one simple thing, pausing without apology. When someone talks fast, she smiles, takes a breath, and says, "Sorry, could you repeat that for me?" Because asking for clarity isn't weakness, it's how you stay present. Conversation is connection. And you're allowed to take the space you need to stay part of it. Elaine didn't lose her spark. She just needed to believe it was still welcome. And so do you. 9. Always sitting in the same chair. Elaine has a favorite chair. It's the one by the window, facing the TV. Soft, Familiar, easy to get in and out of. It's where she sips her morning tea, eats her lunch, reads the paper, and sometimes drifts off for a nap in the middle of the afternoon. She tells herself it's just convenient. Just habit. But over time, that chair has become more than a seat, it's become a boundary. A soft, silent one she didn't notice forming. Until one day she realized how little she moves from it. The dining table, just a few steps away, feels too far. The cozy armchair in the other room? It hasn't been used in weeks. She's not in pain. She's not disabled. But that chair, it's safe. Predictable. Effortless. And that's the hidden danger. Because every time Elaine skips the extra steps, every time she chooses comfort over movement, her world shrinks a little. Her hips tighten. Her posture softens. Her balance, the thing that kept her steady all these years, slowly starts to fade. What began as rest becomes routine. And routine becomes a quiet kind of surrender. But it doesn't have to stay that way. Elaine started small. She moved her favorite book to the other room, just to give herself a reason to get up. She began standing during commercial breaks. Rolling her shoulders. Lifting her knees. Nothing intense. Just motion, gentle, intentional. She even swapped chairs once a day. Just to remind herself that she still could. Because movement is not about exercise. It's about choice. About staying in motion so your independence doesn't stall. That chair will always be there. But Elaine doesn't live in it anymore. And neither should you. 10. Saying I'm fine too quickly. Elaine's daughter calls every morning. How are you, Mom? Without pause, Elaine answers, I'm fine, sweetheart. Everything's good. The words come easy. Too easy. Like a reflex she's been practicing for years. But that morning, her knees had stiffened so badly she had to sit down halfway through making breakfast. She'd slept poorly again. And her back, that dull ache was creeping in earlier each day. Still, she said it. I'm fine. Not because she was trying to lie. But because telling the truth felt heavy. Too heavy to lay on someone she loved. She didn't want to sound like she was complaining. Didn't want to worry her kids. Didn't want to feel like a burden. So instead, she smiled through it. Held her breath. And tucked the truth away. And this is more common than most realize. Many seniors, maybe even you, say I'm fine as a shield. To protect others. But also to protect themselves. Because once you admit something's slipping, it starts to feel real. But here's the thing, silence doesn't stop the decline. It just makes you face it alone. And Elaine realized that the hard way. After a minor fall in the kitchen, her daughter sat her down and said, Mom, you don't have to protect me. I want to know how you're really doing. We can't help if you don't tell us. That moment cracked something open. Elaine didn't suddenly share every ache and fear. But she started being honest in little ways. I didn't sleep great last night. My balance feels off today. I'd love help carrying those groceries. And instead of feeling weaker, she felt stronger. Because admitting the truth gave others the chance to show up. To support. To love her the way she had always loved them. Saying I'm fine doesn't make you brave. Speaking up, even just a little, does. And that small shift? It changed everything. 11. Turning down help even when it's needed. Elaine stood at the bottom of her porch steps, a box of winter clothes in her arms. Her neighbor, Michael, a kind young man in his 30s, spotted her and offered with a smile, let me get that for you, Elaine. She smiled back, polite as always, and replied, oh no, I've got it, thank you though. But as she turned to lift the box, her grip faltered. She caught herself. And the box thudded awkwardly on the second step. Michael didn't push. He just nodded and walked on. Elaine stood there a moment longer than she meant to. It wasn't that she didn't appreciate the offer. It was that accepting it felt like admitting something had changed. Like the world was quietly starting to see her as less capable. And that thought? It stung more than the ache in her shoulder. This isn't about boxes. It never is. It's about pride. About identity. For decades, Elaine was the one others leaned on. She handled every holiday dinner, every scraped knee, every late night worry call from her kids. She doesn't want help because she still sees herself as the helper. But the truth is, everyone needs support, especially those who've spent a lifetime giving it. And what's dangerous is how subtle the decline becomes when you refuse to accept it. You avoid asking for a hand. Then you stop doing the task altogether. Not because you can't, but because you won't let anyone see you struggle. And that leads to isolation. To strength fading faster than it needs to. To dignity slipping away one unspoken need at a time. Elaine started to see it, little by little. One day, she let Michael carry the heavier groceries. Another day, she asked her daughter to help move a chair. And what she found wasn't weakness. It was connection. It was relief. Accepting help doesn't take something away from you. It adds something back: safety, strength, and shared humanity. So if you've been saying no out of pride, try saying yes just once. You might be surprised by how empowering it feels. 12. Sleeping in longer, but feeling less rested. Elaine used to rise with the sun. A warm cup of tea in hand, slippers on, and the hum of a quiet house as she watched the morning begin. But lately, mornings slip by without her. She stays in bed longer than she means to. And even then, she wakes up feeling tired. Not the kind of tired a nap can fix. It's something deeper. At first, she blamed it on getting older. Maybe her body just needed more rest. So she listened to it. She let herself sleep in, thinking she was being kind. But that kindness came with a cost. The more she slept, the heavier her body felt. The slower her thoughts. The less motivated she was to do much of anything at all. And here's the twist: her body wasn't asking for more sleep. It was asking for movement. For daylight. For rhythm. You see, as we age, our internal clocks, the circadian rhythms that guide our energy, our sleep, even our hormones, start to drift. And if we're not getting enough natural light during the day, or if we're moving less, our brains get confused. We feel tired when we should feel alert. And wired when we should be winding down. Elaine realized it one morning when her daughter opened the blinds early, letting the sunshine pour in. Something clicked. That day, she got dressed, walked to the mailbox, and sat by the window for her tea. Just those small shifts made her feel more alive by lunch than she'd felt in days. It wasn't magic. It was momentum. Sleep is vital, yes, but more of it isn't always better. What your body truly needs is consistency, light, gentle challenge, and purpose. If you've been sleeping more but feeling worse, start by stepping outside. Open the windows. Stretch your arms toward the sky before you even speak a word. Sometimes, the best way to rest is to move. Elaine didn't do anything wrong. She didn't give up on life. She just said no, one small time at a time. No to the stairs. No to the invitation. No to the mirror. No to the bags, the conversations, the little risks she once took without thinking. Not because she stopped caring, but because no one told her how to push back. No one told her that confidence slips away quietly if you don't keep feeding it. That freedom fades not in one big moment, but in 1,000 unnoticed choices. But here's the beautiful truth. Elaine started saying yes again. Yes to walking the block before breakfast. Yes to letting her neighbor carry the heavy groceries. Yes to asking the waitress to repeat the specials instead of nodding politely. She began opening the blinds earlier, drinking her tea by the window, feeling the sun on her skin. And with every little yes, her shoulders lifted a bit. Her voice got stronger. Her smile stayed on longer. That's what we all deserve. Not perfection. Not pretending aging isn't real. But dignity, clarity, and the power to choose how we move through it. So now it's your turn. Which of these 12 quiet changes have you noticed in yourself? Or someone you love? Leave a comment, your story matters. It might be the exact words someone else needs to hear today. And if this message spoke to you, if you believe in aging with awareness, not fear, tap that subscribe button. Because this isn't the end of the story. It's the turning point. And we're walking forward, together.